The return of humanity. The silence of space stretched on for light years, broken only by the hum of the massive ship as it glided toward Earth. For 3,000 years, the planet had been abandoned, left to rot under the rule of the alien invaders who had destroyed it. But now, the long wait was over. Humanity was coming back. On board the ship, Commander Sarah Stone stood at the bridge, her eyes fixed on the planet below. The Earth was barely visible through the thick clouds of space debris that had accumulated over centuries. From this distance, it looked like nothing more than a shadow of its former self, a broken world. But to Sarah, Earth was more than just a planet. It was home. And now, after thousands of years, she and her team were returning to avenge its destruction. The time for waiting was over. The time for action had come. "Commander, we're approaching Earth's atmosphere." Lieutenant Alex Carter's voice broke through Sarah's thoughts. He was at the helm, his fingers dancing over the control panel. "The alien defenses are still active. We need to prepare for impact." Sarah nodded, her jaw set. "I know. Get ready, everyone. This is it. The moment we've all been waiting for." The crew members around her tightened their grips on their seats, anticipation buzzing in the air. They were humanity's last hope. Thousands of years had passed since their ancestors were forced to flee, leaving Earth in the hands of ruthless alien invaders. But now, they were returning, not as helpless survivors, but as the hunters. The ship rumbled as it entered Earth's atmosphere. The shaking grew more intense, but Sarah remained calm, her years of training keeping her focused. Her mind flashed back to the day Earth fell. It had been a day like any other when the alien ships first arrived. The sky had darkened with the shadow of enormous vessels descending from the stars. The invaders, known as the Zorvans, were ruthless and efficient. Their technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Cities were reduced to rubble in minutes, and Earth's defenses were wiped out before they even had a chance to fight back. Humanity's leaders had made the difficult decision to abandon Earth. They had flown into space, leaving behind a planet in flames, its future uncertain. The survivors scattered across the galaxy, rebuilding what they could in secret, knowing that one day they would return. That day had come. The ship's hull groaned as it punched through the last layer of the atmosphere and broke into the skies above Earth. The alien cities below looked cold and lifeless, their towering structures casting long shadows over the planet's surface. There was no sign of the Zorvans, but Sarah knew they were there. The invaders were always watching. "Deploy the drones," she ordered. "We need to gather intel on their positions." A swarm of small robotic drones shot out from the ship, buzzing like a cloud of bees. They spread out over the landscape, scanning for any signs of life or military activity. The crew waited in tense silence as the drones sent back data to the ship's command center. Minutes later, Alex's voice rang out again, this time with a hint of urgency. "Commander, we've detected several Zorvan strongholds across the planet. They've fortified their positions in what used to be our major cities. It looks like they've been here for a long time, building their empire." Sarah's fists clenched. The Zorvans had made themselves at home, treating Earth as their own. But they had made one grave mistake. They had never prepared for humanity to return. "Prepare the landing gear. We're going down," Sarah said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "It's time to show them what we've become." The ship touched down on Earth's surface with a soft thud, sending up a cloud of dust. The crew quickly disembarked, their boots hitting the ground with purpose. The air was thick with the scent of decay, the planet's once vibrant ecosystem now choking under the weight of alien control. The landscape was a wasteland. Once green fields and forests were now barren, replaced by cold, metallic structures that seemed to pulse with an unnatural light. Zorvan technology was everywhere: alien machines, hovering drones, and towering walls designed to keep out invaders. It was clear that the Zorvans had made Earth their base of operations, but there was no sign of them. Sarah led her team through the ruins, her eyes scanning the horizon. There was no turning back now. The mission was simple: locate the enemy, destroy their defenses, and reclaim Earth. The plan was risky, but it was their only option. As they moved deeper into the city, they encountered the first of the Zorvans. The alien soldiers, tall and imposing with smooth metallic skin, stepped out from behind a ruined building. Their weapons were drawn, and their eyes glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light. "Looks like they've noticed us," Alex said, raising his weapon. "Time to show them what humanity is capable of." Sarah gave a brief nod. "Hold your fire. Let them make the first move." The Zorvans seemed to hesitate for a moment, as if they were surprised to see humans on Earth. They had assumed the planet was uninhabited, that no one had survived. But humanity had returned, not as victims, but as a force to be reckoned with. Without warning, the Zorvans charged. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy, and the battle for Earth began. Sarah and her team fought with everything they had. They were outnumbered, but they had something the Zorvans didn't: the will to survive, the desire to reclaim their home. With each alien they took down, the message became clearer: Earth was not theirs for the taking. Humanity would fight to the last breath to defend it. The battle raged on, but the tide was beginning to turn. The Zorvans had underestimated the humans. They had thought Earth's defenders were long gone, but now they were paying the price for their arrogance. As the last of the Zorvans fell, Sarah looked around at the wreckage. The city was in ruins, but humanity had made its first strike. The return to Earth had begun, and there would be no retreat this time. "We've just started," Sarah said, looking up at the ruined sky. "We're taking back our world, one battle at a time." And so, humanity's revenge had begun. The invaders may have taken Earth, but they had underestimated the power of the humans who once called it home. The awakening of the machines. The victory had been hard-earned, but it was only the beginning. As the dust settled over the battlefield, Commander Sarah Stone stood amidst the ruined city, the weight of their first battle heavy on her shoulders. Her team had done well, but the alien invaders, though stunned, were not yet defeated. The Zorvans had underestimated humanity's resolve, but they still had vast forces hidden across Earth. There was much work left to be done. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a blood-red glow over the shattered landscape. Sarah turned to her team, their faces tired but determined. Alex Carter, Lieutenant Emily Hayes, and the rest of the crew stood silently, waiting for orders. The fight for Earth had just begun, but it had already become clear: humanity's enemies would not yield easily. "Gather the wounded and secure the perimeter," Sarah commanded, her voice calm but firm. "We need to rest and regroup. We've gained ground, but we're still outnumbered. Keep your eyes open. There's something we're missing." The team nodded, their faces grim. They were on high alert, knowing that the Zorvans were ruthless and would retaliate with everything they had. But there was something more troubling about this moment, a feeling that something beneath the surface was waiting to be unleashed. In the depths of the alien strongholds, hidden beneath the Earth's surface, an ancient machine stirred. It had been dormant for millennia, waiting for a trigger to awaken it. The Zorvans had left it in place, assuming it was nothing more than a relic of a bygone era. But as the human invaders began to move, the machine sensed their presence. It was designed to fight, to protect the planet from threats. And now it had been activated. The machine, an enormous construct of alien metal and advanced technology, hummed to life. Its massive, glowing eyes flickered open, scanning the surroundings with cold precision. It was programmed to protect Earth at any cost, and it would do whatever necessary to destroy the human intruders. Back on the surface, Sarah felt the ground beneath her feet tremble. The air crackled with a strange energy, and the sky above seemed to grow darker, as though some unseen force was gathering strength. She looked up at Alex, who was standing watch with his rifle raised. His expression was tense. "Something's wrong," Alex said, his voice low. "It feels like the Earth itself is waking up." Sarah's instincts kicked in. The Zorvans had done something something more than just building their strongholds. She had seen this kind of disturbance before, when a planet's defenses were triggered. But Earth's defense system had been dormant for centuries. The real question was, what had activated it now? "Get the scanners online," Sarah ordered. "We need to know what we're dealing with." Emily Hayes, the team's tech specialist, quickly activated the ship's scanning system. Her fingers flew over the control panel, and the data began to stream in. The screen flickered as she analyzed the readings. "Commander," Emily said, her voice filled with alarm, "I'm picking up a massive energy source, underground. It's not alien technology. It's something older, far more advanced. And it's moving." The realization hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. The Zorvans hadn't just built strongholds on Earth. They had disturbed something ancient, something that had been buried beneath the planet's surface for eons. This wasn't just about taking back Earth from invaders. The real threat was something that had been waiting for humanity's return. "Prepare for contact," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the rising tension. "We're not just fighting the Zorvans anymore." The team moved quickly, gathering what little they had, ammo, food, and medical supplies, before making their way toward the source of the disturbance. They moved in tight formation, aware that whatever had been awakened wasn't going to be friendly. The landscape around them seemed to pulse with an ominous energy, as if the planet itself was alive, watching them. They reached a large underground cavern, hidden beneath the ruins of a former human city. The walls were lined with strange, alien symbols, runes that glowed faintly in the dark. At the center of the cavern, a massive mechanical structure loomed. It was unlike anything the crew had ever seen. Towering and covered in layers of alien metal, the structure emitted a low, rhythmic hum that echoed through the cavern. It was alive. The crew spread out cautiously, weapons raised, scanning for any signs of movement. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she approached the structure. The energy readings were off the charts, but there was no sign of any enemy forces. The Zorvans hadn't warned them about this. "Stay close," Sarah said, her voice a whisper. "We don't know what this thing is capable of." As they moved closer, the structure began to react. A deep mechanical growl echoed from within it as the massive doors began to creak open. The sound was deafening, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. "Get ready," Sarah shouted, signaling her team to fall back. But it was too late. The doors opened with a violent jolt, revealing the creature within. It was a machine, but something more than just technology, towering over them. Its glowing eyes fixed on Sarah and her crew, its form an amalgamation of ancient and futuristic design. It had the power of the Earth's original defense system, and its purpose was clear: to eliminate the human threat. The machine's voice boomed in the silence of the cavern, its words ancient, but somehow understandable. "Humanity, the destroyers of Earth, you return to face the reckoning." The crew braced themselves for the battle ahead, realizing that they were facing not just alien invaders, but the planet's own ancient defense system. Humanity had awoken something far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. "Ready yourselves," Sarah said, her voice filled with determination. "We fight for Earth's future." And with that, the battle for Earth's survival entered a new phase. The Zorvans weren't the only enemies they had to defeat. The planet itself had turned against them. But humanity was not about to back down. Not now. Not ever. The war for Earth had just begun, and it was going to be much harder than they had imagined. The machine's wrath. The machine stood tall, its massive frame casting an imposing shadow over Sarah and her team. Its glowing eyes pierced the darkness of the cavern as it slowly advanced, its movements slow but deliberate, the sound of its metal limbs grinding against the floor echoing throughout the vast underground space. "Take cover," Sarah shouted, instinct kicking in. She signaled for her team to fall back, but they didn't have much time. The machine's sheer size and speed were terrifying. Its body was adorned with alien technology, with glowing circuits running through its exterior. Every part of it seemed to hum with energy, as if it were drawing power from the very earth beneath them. But it wasn't just a machine. It was something older, something designed to protect the planet at all costs. The creature's voice rang out again, its tone harsh and cold. Humanity, you seek to reclaim a world you abandoned. But the earth will not suffer you again. Sarah gritted her teeth, trying to steady her racing heart. The sheer force of the machine's words seemed to vibrate through her bones. It was more than just a weapon. It was the planet's defense mechanism, programmed to protect Earth from any threat, even if that threat was humanity itself. Get ready, Sarah ordered. We need to find its weak spots. Her crew quickly spread out, each member taking cover behind the ruins of the ancient city. The machine's eyes tracked their movements, its every motion calculated, methodical. It was clear it had been waiting for something, waiting for the return of humanity, perhaps. But it was also clear that it had not been designed to discriminate between enemies. To it, humans were simply another threat. The machine raised one massive arm, and a burst of energy shot from its hand, cutting through the air like a lightning bolt. The blast struck the ground just inches from Emily, sending shards of stone flying in all directions. She ducked just in time, the air around her buzzing with energy. Too fast. Alex shouted, his voice tight with panic. We need to find a way to slow it down. The machine moved again, its footfalls shaking the ground beneath them. It was almost as if the very planet was rising against them. Sarah's mind raced. There had to be a way to beat it. It was a machine, after all. Machines could be defeated. Focus on its joints. Sarah barked. If we can disable its movement, we might be able to take it down. The team nodded, quickly adjusting their strategy. They fired on the machine's massive legs, aiming for the joints in its metal frame. Sparks flew with each shot, but the machine barely seemed to notice. Its metallic skin was tough, impervious to their conventional weapons. They needed something more, something stronger. Emily's voice crackled over the comms. Commander, the scans are showing a power core deep inside its chest. If we can hit that, we might overload its system. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. The power core, that was their key to victory. But getting close enough to hit it would be nearly impossible. The machine was too powerful, its speed and sheer size overwhelming. They had to get it to slow down, to give them a chance. Alex, Emily, lay down suppressive fire. Sarah ordered. I'll move in for the core. Alex and Emily nodded and immediately began firing on the machine, drawing its attention. They were playing a dangerous game, but they had no other choice. As the machine focused on them, Sarah sprinted toward it, her mind sharp and focused on the task at hand. She could feel the ground trembling under the weight of the machine's movements, but she pushed forward, her eyes locked on the glowing center of the creature's chest. The machine's head turned suddenly, its eyes locking onto Sarah. A deafening roar filled the cavern as it raised its arm to strike. In that instant, Sarah dove beneath its massive limbs, narrowly avoiding the crushing blow. The ground beneath her shook, and she could hear the sound of energy crackling through the air. But she didn't stop. She rolled and scrambled forward, making her way to the side of the machine's chest, where she could see the faint glow of its power core. The energy surged within the machine, and she knew that if she didn't act fast, she would be crushed under its weight. Commander, now. Alex's voice crackled through the comms. We've got its attention. Go for the core. With one last burst of energy, Sarah leaped toward the machine's chest. She pulled out a specialized explosive charge from her pack, designed to penetrate advanced alien armor. With trembling hands, she attached the device to the machine's power core. Emily, get back, Sarah yelled as she ran for cover. The machine howled in rage, its massive hands reaching toward her, but it was too late. The charge was activated, and a blinding flash of light erupted from the machine's chest. The shockwave hit with incredible force, knocking Sarah off her feet. The ground buckled beneath her, and for a moment, everything went black. When Sarah regained consciousness, the world around her was eerily quiet. The air was thick with dust, and her head ached from the explosion. Slowly, she pushed herself up, her eyes searching the cavern for any sign of her team. "Alex, Emily," she called, her voice hoarse. It took a few moments, but finally, Alex's voice came through the comms, weak but alive. "Commander, we're here. That thing's gone." Sarah looked around, her heart racing as she spotted her team. Emily was already on her feet, dusting herself off, and Alex was slowly rising from behind a pile of rubble. The machine's hulking form lay crumpled on the ground, its once glowing eyes now dim and lifeless. The energy core had exploded, taking the ancient defense system down with it. "We did it," Emily breathed, her voice filled with disbelief. Sarah exhaled, allowing herself a moment to breathe. But even as she looked at the wreckage of the machine, her mind raced. This battle had been won, but they were far from safe. The Zorvans were still out there, and if they were to reclaim Earth, they had to be prepared for the challenges ahead. The planet had just shown them its true power, but it was also clear humanity had the strength to fight back. "We've won this round," Sarah said, her voice steady. "But we're not done yet. There's still more to do. We fight on. For Earth, for humanity." And with that, the team gathered together, ready for whatever lay ahead. The fight for Earth was far from over, but humanity had proven it was not easily defeated. The war had only just begun. The hidden enemy. The team moved quickly through the cavern, their footsteps echoing off the walls. The ancient defense system, now destroyed, had given them a brief moment of victory, but Sarah knew it wouldn't last long. The Zorvans hadn't been defeated, and this strange, powerful machine wasn't the only thing lurking in Earth's shadows. There was something else, something even more dangerous. As Sarah and her crew made their way back to their base, she felt the weight of their mission bearing down on her. Their forces had barely scratched the surface of the alien occupation. The Zorvans were powerful, their technology vast, and the destruction they had caused in their relentless conquest of Earth had left scars that would take centuries to heal. "We're not done yet," Sarah muttered, more to herself than anyone else. She scanned the landscape, her eyes narrowing. There was something unsettling about the quiet that had descended over the Earth. The battle against the machine had been won, but it felt like the calm before a storm. The team reached their transport ship, which was stationed just outside the ruins of the ancient city. They boarded in silence, each member deep in thought, their minds focused on what lay ahead. As they lifted off, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The feeling had been growing stronger ever since they had defeated the machine. Something, or someone, was out there, waiting, hidden in the shadows. And they weren't alone in their fight for Earth. The Zorvans had been the first to invade Earth, but they were not the only alien force with an interest in the planet. Sarah knew this from her years of experience as a military commander. Earth was a resource-rich world, and in the vastness of space, many species coveted it. But the Zorvans, with their technological prowess and vast armies, had proven to be the most dangerous. As the crew set up camp on the outskirts of the ruined city, Sarah huddled with Emily and Alex, poring over data collected from the mission. The Zorvans were a threat, but the planet had been showing signs of something much deeper, something hidden beneath the surface. The mysterious machine they had just destroyed was only a small piece of a much larger puzzle. "We need more intel," Sarah said, tapping the holographic map in front of her. "The Zorvans might be the obvious threat, but there's something we're missing. We've seen these strange energy readings before, and now we've witnessed firsthand what Earth's defenses are capable of. But that doesn't explain everything." Emily frowned, adjusting her glasses as she sifted through the data. "Commander, the energy signatures we've been tracking, they don't match anything in the Zorvans database. It's almost like something else is controlling the energy, guiding it. Something more ancient," Alex suggested quietly. "The Earth itself." Sarah looked at both of them, her expression hardening. That's what I'm afraid of. The next day, the team set off toward a new location, an ancient ruin deep in the jungle, where they had detected the strongest energy readings yet. It was a place long forgotten, even by the earliest human civilizations. The jungle had claimed the ruins over millennia, and it was there, hidden beneath layers of vines and debris, that they believed they might find the answers they sought. As they journeyed through the dense forest, the air grew thick with humidity, the sounds of unseen creatures filling the air. Sarah couldn't help but feel the weight of history pressing down on them. This was a place of ancient power, and whatever lay within it could either help them or destroy them. The team finally reached the entrance to the ruins as the sun began to set. The stone archway was covered in symbols, some of which Sarah recognized from her studies on ancient cultures, while others seemed entirely foreign. There was no telling who had built this place, or what purpose it had served. "We're close," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the creeping sense of unease. "Stay sharp." They descended into the darkened ruins, using their flashlights to illuminate the intricate carvings on the walls. The deeper they went, the more the air seemed to hum with an unnatural energy. It was almost as if the walls themselves were alive, reacting to their presence. As they reached the heart of the ruin, they found something that none of them had expected. A large, spherical device embedded in the ground, covered in strange symbols. The device glowed faintly, and a pulse of energy seemed to emanate from it. This is it," Emily whispered, awe in her voice. "This is the source." Sarah's heart raced as she approached the device, her mind reeling with possibilities. Could this be the key to understanding what had awakened the machine? Was this the source of the energy that had been disrupting their missions? The device hummed louder now, almost as if it were calling to them. Sarah knelt beside it, carefully brushing away the dirt and debris to reveal the symbols etched into its surface. They were ancient, older than anything she had ever seen. "It's some kind of power core," Sarah muttered, her fingers tracing the strange symbols. "But it's not like anything we've encountered before. This is beyond Zorvan technology. This is alien. More like ancient Earth technology," Emily added. "It looks like something was buried here for a reason, something to protect the planet. But it was hidden for a long time." Sarah took a deep breath, staring at the device as the hum grew louder. "This is what's been guiding the Earth's defense system. This is why the machine woke up. It's not just protecting Earth from the Zorvans, it's protecting Earth from something much worse." Suddenly, the device pulsed, and the ground beneath them began to shake. The ancient structure groaned as if it were coming back to life, and a low rumbling echoed from deep within the ruins. Something was awakening, and it was not something they were prepared for. "Get back," Sarah shouted, grabbing Emily's arm and pulling her away from the device. "We need to leave now." But it was too late. The ground cracked open beneath them, and a massive surge of energy shot from the device, blasting the walls apart. As the rubble fell around them, Sarah's last thought before the world went dark was that they had uncovered something far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. The true enemy was not just the Zorvans or the ancient machines. It was something buried beneath the surface of Earth, something that had been waiting for the right moment to rise again. And that moment had come. The awakening of Earth's guardian. The world seemed to crumble around Sarah and her team. The sudden surge of energy from the ancient device had knocked them off their feet, sending them flying into the crumbling walls of the ruin. Dust and debris filled the air, making it difficult to breathe, and the ground continued to tremble as if the very Earth itself was waking up from a long slumber. "Commander, are you okay?" Alex's voice cut through the chaos. It was hard to hear him over the noise, but Sarah managed to push herself to her feet, shaking the disorienting dust from her hair. Her head throbbed from the impact, but she was alive. The team had to be alive too. "I'm here," she called back, her voice hoarse. She scanned the ruins, barely able to make out the figures of her team in the swirling dust. "Emily. Alex. Here, Emily's voice came from the shadows, and soon Sarah saw her crewmate, coughing but unharmed. Alex was not far behind, his eyes wide as he looked toward the center of the ruins. What was that? Emily gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. The rumbling from deep within the earth still hadn't stopped, and the faint hum of the ancient device continued to reverberate in the air. It was growing louder. I don't know, but I think we just awakened something. Something much bigger than we expected. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at the device, now glowing brighter, pulsing with a rhythm like a heartbeat. It was guarding something. And whatever it is, it's waking up now. Before they could move, a deep guttural sound echoed through the ruin. The ground beneath them cracked once again, and from the center of the collapsed structure, something massive began to rise. The earth split apart, revealing what looked like a colossal ancient figure. It was a towering, armored humanoid, covered in strange, almost organic metal that seemed to breathe with life. The figure slowly rose from the ground, its movements slow but powerful, as if it had been dormant for thousands of years. Its eyes, deep pools of glowing energy, flickered to life. The sheer force of its presence was enough to make the ground tremble beneath their feet. Is that a guardian? Emily whispered in awe, her eyes fixed on the towering figure. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Half machine, half organic, a relic of an ancient time. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She had read about Earth's history, the great civilizations that had once ruled the planet, the long-forgotten technology that had been lost in the sands of time. But nothing had prepared her for this. "Get ready," Sarah said, her voice low and serious. "I think we just woke up Earth's ultimate defense system." The figure's glowing eyes locked onto Sarah, and for a brief moment, it was as if the world held its breath. Then, with a voice that sounded like thunder, the figure spoke. "Humans, the guardians of Earth, HFY." The words echoed through the ruins, vibrating through Sarah's chest. She could feel the immense power in the voice, and she knew that this was no ordinary machine. It was something far older, far more powerful than anything they had encountered. "Who are you?" Sarah managed to ask, trying to keep her voice steady. The figure's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, it seemed as though it was scanning her, analyzing her very being. Finally, it spoke again, its voice booming like a storm. "I am the HFY of Earth. You, humans, HFY to CCLAM, you once abandoned, but you have disturbed the balance." The ground beneath them rumbled as the protector stepped forward, its massive footfall shaking the air. It was clear now. The Earth had been its charge, its responsibility for millennia. But with humanity's return, the protector had been forced to awaken from its long slumber. "Why?" Emily asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and fear. "Why are you attacking us? We're here to take back Earth. We want to help." The guardian remained silent for a long moment. Then, as if contemplating her words, it spoke again. "Humans, you once evled as this planet, leaving it vulnerable. You gave it to the invaders. The ZORVNS are but a part of DHCYCL. Now you are to CLAM workake. You think he is yours, but you do not understand." "Understand what?" Sarah pressed. "We've been gone for too long, but we're here now. We can fix the mistakes we made. We can." The guardian interrupted her, its voice growing cold and harsh. "The Earth is not yours to take. It is a living being. A4C, they must be protected. The ZORVNS and others, they will tell them again. But the Earth will never allow you to destroy it again. You must prove your worth. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Sarah's heart raced, but she refused to show fear. This was Earth's last line of defense, a relic from an era long before humanity had risen to power. If they wanted to survive, they would have to convince the protector they were worthy of Earth's protection. How can we prove ourselves? Sarah asked, stepping forward, her voice steady despite the pressure. The protector's eyes glowed brighter as it regarded her. By defending the Earth against the invaders, only then will you be allowed to reclaim it. The air around them seemed to crackle with energy as the Guardian raised its massive hand. A low, resonant hum filled the air as it began to channel energy into the ground beneath them. You will face what comes next, human. You will be tested, just as those who came before you were tested. The fate of the Earth depends on your strength. Only the strongest will survive. Before they could respond, the ground beneath their feet shifted once again. A massive energy wave surged toward them, knocking them back as the ancient Guardian activated something deep within the Earth. The world around them seemed to shift, and suddenly they were no longer standing in the ruins of an ancient city. They had been transported to a vast, unfamiliar landscape, an arena of sorts, where a new battle would unfold. The protector's voice boomed once again. The trial begins now. Survive, and you will be allowed to remain. Fail, and you will perish. The trial of Earth's might. The world around Sarah and her team shifted, warping in an instant as the energy surge blasted them into another realm. The air was thick with the smell of burning earth and the taste of metal, and the landscape before them was unlike anything they had ever seen. Towering mountains loomed in the distance, their peaks covered in strange, glowing vines that pulsed with an eerie light. The ground beneath their feet was cracked and uneven, with deep fissures stretching into the horizon. The air itself seemed alive, humming with an unnatural power. It was as if the very planet was aware of their presence, alive and watching, waiting for their next move. Sarah's heart raced as she tried to take in their new surroundings. This wasn't Earth as they knew it. This was something different, something ancient. What is this place? Alex whispered, his voice strained with fear and awe. It's part of the trial, Sarah replied, her mind already racing. She had no idea what the Guardian had in mind, but she knew one thing for sure. They weren't just going to be handed Earth back. They had to prove their worth, show they could defend this planet, and protect it from the same invaders that had nearly destroyed it before. Whatever it is, we need to stick together, Emily said, her voice steady, but her eyes wide with uncertainty. We're not just up against the Zorvans now. We're up against Earth itself. As if to confirm Emily's words, the ground beneath them trembled once again. The sky darkened, and a deep rumbling sound echoed across the land. In the distance, something was emerging. Large, shadowy figures, their silhouettes barely visible against the darkening sky. Sarah's instincts kicked in. Get into position. We need to be ready for anything. The team quickly formed a defensive line, weapons drawn and eyes scanning the horizon. Sarah's mind raced as she tried to think of a strategy, but nothing could prepare them for what was about to come. Without warning, the first of the shadowy figures appeared, crashing through the twisted landscape at an incredible speed. It was massive, much larger than anything they had encountered before. The creature's body was a twisted mass of black scales and razor-sharp spikes that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Its eyes glowed with an unsettling green hue, and it moved with terrifying precision, as though it had been waiting for this moment for eons. The Guardian's voice echoed in their minds, cold and distant. The trial has begun. Defeat the beasts, and prove your worth. Beasts, Alex muttered, his voice tense. That thing's not a beast. It's a nightmare. Before they could react, the creature lunged at them, its jaws snapping shut with a deafening roar. Sarah instinctively raised her rifle and fired, but the bullets seemed to ricochet off its tough hide, doing little to stop the creature's advance. "Move," Sarah yelled, pulling her team to safety. "We need to find its weak spot." The creature roared again, its massive body twisting as it prepared for another strike. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. They had to think fast, or it would become just another pile of bones in the ancient arena. Emily, quick to think, pointed to the creature's exposed underbelly. "It's vulnerable underneath. Aim there." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Alex, Emily, cover me." She charged forward, using the terrain to her advantage, ducking and weaving as she closed the distance between herself and the creature. The ground shook with each of its thunderous steps, but Sarah pushed on. She had seen what humans were capable of when they fought for survival. This wasn't just about saving Earth anymore. It was about showing this guardian that they had the strength to endure whatever came their way. As she reached the creature's underbelly, Sarah leaped into the air, narrowly avoiding its snapping jaws. She planted her feet firmly on its massive body and thrust her blade deep into the soft flesh beneath the scales. The creature let out a deafening scream, thrashing violently, but Sarah held on, twisting the blade deeper. With a final guttural cry, the creature collapsed, its massive form crumbling to the ground. The ground trembled one last time before going still. Sarah, gasping for breath, pulled herself away from the beast, her heart racing from the adrenaline. "That was too close," Alex said, his voice shaking but relieved. Emily gave a shaky laugh. "I think we proved we can fight, but there's more coming." As if on cue, the rumbling of the earth began again, and another shadow appeared on the horizon. This one was even larger than the first. Sarah turned to face her team, her expression hardening. "This is just the beginning. The Guardian isn't going to make it easy on us, but if we want to reclaim Earth, we'll have to face whatever it throws at us." Suddenly, the ground cracked open in front of them, and a massive creature emerged from the depths, its eyes glowing with an intense red hue. It was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, a hulking beast with armored skin and long, jagged claws that seemed to scrape the earth as it advanced. This creature was more than just a test. It was a reminder of how much Earth had endured and how much humanity still had to prove. "This one's different," Emily whispered, her voice full of dread. "It's bigger, stronger. I don't think we can handle this one the same way." Sarah took a deep breath, her mind working quickly. They had to adapt, had to fight smarter. "We don't have a choice. We fight. We survive." And with that, they engaged the beast. The final battle for Earth's future. The air was thick with tension as the massive, armored creature lunged at them, its claws slashing through the air with a speed that sent shockwaves through the ground. Sarah and her team barely had time to react. They had just defeated one beast, but this new monster was on a completely different level. Its hulking form towered over them, and its glowing red eyes burned with a ferocity that made their blood run cold. "We need to think fast," Sarah shouted, raising her weapon. Her hand trembled, not from fear, but from the overwhelming pressure of the situation. The Earth's fate rested on their shoulders, and the Guardian had made it clear. This was the final trial. The creature roared, its voice like thunder, and charged at them. Emily barely managed to dodge its first swipe, and Alex fired a burst of energy blasts, but they barely scratched the creature's tough exterior. "We're not making the dent," Alex shouted, frustration seeping into his voice. "We need to find its weak spot," Sarah said, her mind racing. The creature's massive form was covered in thick, armored plating, but Sarah could see small gaps where the armor seemed weaker, around its joints and underbelly. The problem was getting close enough to exploit them. Before she could form a plan, the creature reared back and slammed its massive fists into the ground. The shockwave sent Sarah and her team flying backward, their bodies crashing into the cracked earth. For a moment, everything went black. When Sarah regained consciousness, her head throbbed, and her vision blurred. She pushed herself up, her eyes darting to where the creature had stood. It was now towering over them, ready to strike. "We're running out of time," Emily gasped, pulling herself up beside Sarah. "We have to take it down. Now." Sarah's eyes scanned the battlefield, her thoughts swirling. There was no way to outlast this beast. They had to act quickly and decisively. "Emily," Sarah began, her voice steady despite the chaos, "we'll need to use everything we've got. I'll distract it. Alex, take the high ground. Aim for its weak points." Alex nodded, his expression grim but resolute. On it. Sarah didn't wait for another moment. She charged toward the creature, dodging its strikes with agility born of desperation. The beast swung its claws, but Sarah ducked and weaved through its attacks, getting closer with each passing second. The ground beneath her cracked as the beast's massive claws slammed into the earth, but Sarah kept her focus. She was almost there. She could see the slight opening beneath the creature's armored belly, its only vulnerable point. "Now, Alex," Sarah shouted, just as she dove toward the creature's underside. Alex, perched on the high ground with his sniper rifle, didn't hesitate. He lined up the shot, focusing all his energy on the creature's weak spot. With a single, steady breath, he fired. The blast hit with precision, and the creature let out a deafening roar as the shot exploded through its armor. Sarah seized the opportunity. With one powerful leap, she plunged her blade into the exposed area, twisting it deep into the beast's core. The creature howled in pain, thrashing violently as it tried to shake Sarah off. But she held on, twisting the blade deeper, aiming for the heart of the creature. Suddenly, with a final, earth-shattering roar, the creature collapsed, its massive body hitting the ground with a thunderous crash. The shockwave sent Sarah flying backward, but she landed hard on her feet, her breath ragged from the effort. The battlefield was still. The team stood in stunned silence for a moment, their eyes wide with disbelief. They had done it. They had defeated the creature. But as the dust settled, the ground began to tremble again. Sarah's heart sank. This wasn't over. The voice of the ancient guardian boomed across the battlefield once more, its tone cold and final. "You AVPRV in your strength, but the trial is not yet complete. The true test awaits." The ground beneath them cracked open, and the sky above turned dark as the earth seemed to tear itself apart. From the depths, a new, even greater threat began to emerge. Sarah's heart pounded as she looked at the team. This was the final battle, the moment that would determine the fate of humanity and Earth. They had survived the trials so far, but the true test was yet to come. "This isn't over," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the overwhelming pressure. "We fight for Earth. We fight for our future." And with that, they prepared for the ultimate confrontation, against not just an enemy, but an entire planet that had been waiting for them to prove their worth. The fate of humanity and Earth now lay in their hands.